So these, his patients that he had, they weren't ever quite able to get back into the stream of life. They were constantly coming back into the mental hospital. And so he came up with this technique. He actually had anxiety himself. So he not only created this technique, but he also used it himself. And he taught it to 30 of his patients. And of those 30 patients, not a single one ever came back to the mental facility, which if you work in psychiatric care in, any kind of capacity, you know that there is a common theme of people coming back because they're not quite able to get back on their feet. So it's pretty amazing. So what this method has been proven to show through evidence-based studies is that it will decrease your symptoms of anxiety in the moment, and over time, it'll help you to feel better about yourself and enhance your self-esteem. And the best part about it is that it works in the moment and it takes less than 5 minutes. You can do it by yourself, you can do it with a peer, or you can do it with a coach. So once you take this webinar and you have this awesome quick reference card, you are good to go. So I'm gonna have Jamie go give us an example. I'm gonna coach her through the method. Before we do that, I just wanna go over the 4 steps. So the first step is briefly and calmly describing the situation without using adjectives. We already start to work ourselves down by briefly and calmly describing the situation. Then we name our symptoms. We start with either physical sensations that we feel in our body, heart beating fast, sweaty palms, whatever that is for you. And then we move to our physical symptoms. To our thought symptoms, which are basically any thoughts we have around the situation. I'm not good enough. I don't feel well. People don't think highly of me. I'm right, they're wrong. There's a whole list, and we'll go more into that in a minute. Then step 3 is using the spots. These are the phrases that bring us from an insecure thought to a secure thought. And they're really the gold of this method. You'll love them once you learn them. They're so great. And the second part of that step 3 is to self-endorse. So this is where we give ourselves a pat on the back. We list or tell all the great things that we've done that day, that week, or anything around the situation. And then step 4, we mark our progress and note our success. What would we have done before the Spot-It method, and what would we do now that we know the Spot-It method? And for me, I typically save a lot of time. I save a lot of time being in resentment, upset, anger, all of those emotions. So it's really great. So Jamie, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Awesome. All right, Jamie. So briefly and calmly describe your situation.
Okay. So my situation right now is in relationship to work. I really enjoy my job. However, I'm feeling very overworked and feel that my boundaries are not completely clear, that my work life is very much blending in and impacting my social and emotional and physical and all the other aspects of my life.
Awesome. All right. So your work life is stressing you out. You don't feel like you have clear boundaries. Is that a good?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
So step 2, what are your symptoms? We'll start with your thoughts. What are some thoughts that you have around this situation?
The main thought that I have is that I am not good enough at the job to get all of the work done in the amount of time that is dedicated, or within like the boundaries of the 9 to 5 hours. So there's a lot of unworthiness thoughts. I also have thoughts related to, it is such a large amount of work that it's not possible to get done within that time frame. And I am rather annoyed sometimes with my boss, and how she sometimes like calls me off hours and things like that as well. So those are the main thoughts that I have in relationship to the boundary piece.
Awesome. All right. Great reporting on your thoughts. And then how about your physical sensations? Where are you feeling that stress in your body?
So that one's easy. I definitely feel it in my chest and my throat tighten up. I also notice my stomach. It feels like I'm releasing some like chemical, I don't know what's going on, but my stomach is absolutely responding. But the most physical symptom that I can recognize is in my chest and my throat.
Awesome. Yeah, it's different for everyone. So great job.
Yes.
All right, so I sent you a list of the spots earlier. So could you pick maybe 2 or 3 spots that you could choose for the situation?
Yes. Three that I chose were calm brings calm, we make our greatest gains in discomfort, and humor is our best friend.
Awesome, great job. And then how about what can you endorse yourself for around this situation or just around your life today?
Yeah, I endorse myself for learning how to stand up for my needs in the workplace. Work has gotten a little bit better since I've stood up for myself in certain ways. I endorse myself for still showing up for my clients every day, even though I am stressed in other ways within the field. Yes, and I also endorse myself for being open to feedback and learning.
Awesome, great endorsements. All right, and now the last step is noting your progress and mark your success. So before the Spot-It method, how would you have handled this situation and how are you handling it better now?
Before the Spot-It method, I definitely would have allowed the stress and anxieties of work to bleed into, I would be thinking about it well into the night, into tomorrow, not really letting things go. But since the Spot-It method, I've learned how to address these feelings a lot quicker and kind of heal them a lot quicker as well. So it doesn't bleed into the rest of my life.
Awesome. Thanks, Jamie. Great job doing the example. And so now as her coach, I'm going to spot back to her. So this is a part that occurs when you have a coach with you. I'm going to spot back to you again, and you named this one, but I really like it. We make our greatest gains practicing in discomfort. So I love that one. Another one, calm brings calm, I think is a great one for the situation. And I like do things in part acts, one step at a time. You know, you said you have a lot of work to do. And so just taking it one step at a time and drop the judgment on ourselves and others. So those are my spots. Elsie, do you have any spots for Jamie's situation? She's another Spot-It coach. Oh, she's still here. Oh, sorry, Elsie, you're muted. I'm like, I can't hear you.
Yeah, okay. So I was also going to say, drop the judgment on yourself and others. I like that one that you just said. Lower your expectations for people's behavior. And you could always just spot it and drop it.
Absolutely. Nice. Thanks, Elsie. And thank you so much, Jamie, for giving the example today at this webinar. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the feedback.
Awesome. All right, so that is the example. So you got to see it live. Now we're going to go more in depth to the concepts and the spots, and they're all just really great. So, but before we do that, I just want to share with you a little bit about my story around Spot-It. So as many of you know, I've been a nurse for about 10 years now. I spent 6 of those years as a clinical emergency department nurse. I've done trauma, triage, travel nursing. I've been all over the country, and I've had a lot of really great experiences. And for a long time in my life, I pretty much had no stress or anxiety outside of the normal day-to-day. You know, I was seeing pretty major stuff when I worked at Hahnemann Hospital, or gunshots, some pretty traumatic things. And I was always cool as a cucumber, able to be there. I loved being there for my patients. A couple of years ago, I got a call when I was on a travel assignment in Northern California that my dad was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. He looked normal. He had a little lump on his neck, and it was pretty shocking for everyone, including myself. And I found that I was having a lot of thoughts that I wasn't able to manage well. I was really suffering, and I had never been in that kind of state before. And so what ended up happening was I thought I was going on a journey to learn how to heal my dad. I went on this journey to learn about alternative healing, but what actually ended up happening was I learned how to heal myself. And one of my biggest epiphanies was that our mind and our body are so connected, and that we have to become aware of the thoughts we're thinking, because those thoughts translate into our emotions, they translate into our beliefs, and they ultimately translate into our actions. So, you know, there's no one trick pony for healing anxiety, depression, anything like that, stress, worry. But what I found is the Spot-It method really helps me in the day-to-day. So when I get upset or I feel myself getting worked up, I can use this method. Even if I just go to the spots, I can use these spots, and they help take me from those lowered emotions where I'm feeling crappy and bring me back up to peace, kind of get me back grounded and centered. And of course, I use many other tools. As some of you who are on this webinar know, I study the Course in Miracles. I practice, an untraditional kind of forgiveness that has been really amazing. And you'll see the Spot-It method, while it is not religious or spiritual, it sort of is in its own way. So, and as me and this woman, Donna, who does this webinar with me, normally say, Spot-It sort of encompasses everything we've learned through our spiritual journeys, but it does it in a very plain language and normal way. So that's a little bit about my Spot-It story. So you're probably wondering what's in it for you. Well, the biggest thing that's in it for you attending this webinar is you're going to feel better. This method will help you to handle stress and anxiety for the rest of your life, personally and professionally. It will increase your emotional intelligence, your self-confidence, and your peace of mind. And as you'll find out, peace of mind is gold these days. There's so much in the world going on to be worried about. And when we're in peace of mind, not only can we help ourselves more, but we can help everyone around us by being that peaceful and grounded person. And the other great part about learning the Spot-It method is you get to develop connections with people in this ever-growing community, which is worldwide. This method's been around for many years, but it's sort of been on the underground. And so we're having an opportunity to bring it out into the light, and especially at this time when there's so much going on in the world and in our personal lives, a lot's coming to the surface. And so, yeah, so it's a great method. So I want to know, what is stressing you out? Is it a change of some kind, giving a presentation, work life, home life, feeling angry, sad, feeling overwhelmed? So I'm going to put a little poll out there. So feel free to answer the poll, or if it's easier for you, just type in the chat. Where are you on the stress and anxiety continuum? You can see 5 means really stressed, and this can vary from day to day. Like right now, I'm about at a 2 because I was a little stressed before this webinar, just a little nervous, but I'm pretty chill. And 5 meaning really stressed. And then also, what are your sources of stress? I put in the slideshow, my dog ate my homework. It's obviously just a joke, but so yeah. So does anyone want to come off mute and just share what, maybe a 30-second soundbite of what your sources of stress are?
I can go for it, Britt.
All right, thank you.
I marked down work and family relationships. So at work right now, I kind of have a different situation than Jamie. I'm not like feeling like they're giving me too much work, but I feel like the work that they're giving me, it's manageable, but they don't like appreciate the work that I'm doing. So I feel like I'm putting a lot of effort in, and then they don't really follow back with me.
Gotcha.
And when I try to like present on my findings, they'll just be like on their phone or like not paying attention or talking to like each other while I'm presenting over Zoom.
Yeah. Well,
that's causing me stress. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, that does not sound fun at all. But fortunately, this method will be able to help you with that situation and pretty much any situation. So thank you, Brielle, for coming off mute and sharing that. Sorry that's happening for you at work.
Okay.
So in the poll, we have 4 people are at 2, we have 5 at 3, and we have another 4 at or another 2 people at 4. Oh, and then we have money and finances is a source of stress. We have work, that's a big one, family and relationships, of course, and world events. I added that one in there because I know there's a lot going on right now. So thank you so much for everyone participating in the poll. And yeah, so great. So you're in good company. I have stresses, you guys have stress. We're all good. So what can you expect using the Spot-It method? So even myself, like I've been on this spiritual journey for a long time. I'm a meditator, I do energy healing. I'm into all these different things. But before I really started looking at my thoughts and becoming aware of my thoughts and using the Spot-It method, I still had a lot of stress, worry, tension, angry thoughts, which I didn't like to look at, physical symptoms, and they were crowding out, they were taking up a lot of my mental space and time. And my peace of mind was that little sliver that you can see in the before picture. But as I started using Spot-It method and these other tools that I have in the day-to-day, I really started to find that the time I spend in peace of mind kept growing and growing. And those times of stress, worry, tension, anxiety, of course, I still have them. Nobody is ever going to be immune from those symptoms as long as you're a human. But my peace of mind, it continues to grow. And I find I spend more time in peace of mind. And I end up really wanting to go back to peace of mind because it doesn't feel good anymore to be in that stress and worry. I don't want to stress about situations or worry about other people. So that's a little bit about what you can expect. So now we're moving into the dimmer switch concept. So this is pretty simple. This is a metaphor we like to use in the Spot-It world to help explain how we're doing when we have any kind of symptoms. So just like a dimmer switch in your house where you can turn up the dimmer switch and make the lights really bright, or you can turn it down and make the lights really dim, we can apply this to our emotions. So when we something happens to us and we get triggered, unknowingly through our reactions, we sometimes create more tenseness and turn our dimmer switch up by working ourselves up, either by using a lot of adjectives or calling our friend and being like, you'll never believe what happened. This girl said this to me, and then I got in a fight with her and I told her this. So when we're doing that, or we're talking about the situation constantly, or we're worrying, that's when we're turning that dimmer switch up and we're actually creating more tenseness, stress, anxiety, and doubt. But what we can do using the Spot-It method is we can start to increase our security by calming ourselves down, getting to a more peaceful place. And that results, obviously in more relaxation and more peace of mind. So, our beliefs, our thoughts, beliefs, and actions can create security or tenseness. So it's up to us to choose, what thoughts, beliefs, and actions do we want to use? And yes, so we have that opportunity. So, and this dimmer switch concept becomes really important when we start to understand the impact that stress has on our body and health. So in our systems, we have a sympathetic and a parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system was designed to be turned on when we were, running from a lion in the jungle, or when we, are being held at gunpoint, or there's some sort of life-threatening, serious incident occurring. That sympathetic, that fight or flight response, that turns on in an instant, and that's to get us out of danger. So when we have that fight or flight turned on, that's when our adrenaline's pumping, our heart rate, blood pressure's up. Our body actually shunts blood away from our brain, away from our digestive system. Resources go away from our immune system, and they actually go towards, running and getting away to safety. So that's our sympathetic response. Our parasympathetic response, this is the rest and digest, the relaxation response. This is the kind of response when I do energy healing, I expect to invoke in people. This is when your heart rate's decreased, your blood pressure's decreased, you have good clarity of thought, you're able to sleep well, your digestive system is working, and your immune system is enhanced overall. So what's happening today is because there are so many situations that are making us feel uncomfortable, we're associating danger with all these situations. And so we're actually turning on our sympathetic nervous system way more often than it's meant to be. So you get, a poor report from your boss, or your boss ignores you while you're trying to explain your research to them, right, Brielle? Or, your family, you come home and, the laundry isn't done, or you ask someone to do something a few times, they didn't do it. Whatever that situation is, we're getting ourselves worked up, we're turning that dimmer switch up. And what we're doing is we're living in our sympathetic response. So our sympathetic response is great. It literally will save your life. But when we live in it all the time, over time, it actually leads to inflammation and disease. And so there are a lot of things that we can't control in this world. But one thing we can do is try to move more into our relaxation response, into our rest and digest.
I'm sorry, that's me.
It's okay. Let me
I just got here. Hold a minute.
Can you mute? Oh, I got you. Okay. So that is the impact of stress in our body. So we can actually use this method to work ourselves down and start to get more into that relaxation mode and allow ourselves also to have better clarity of thought when we're dealing with these situations. So there's good and bad news. The bad news is a great deal of our suffering is self-imposed, right? So Donna's here now. She's going to help me out a little bit in a second with this webinar. But basically, we thought that in order to love someone, you basically had to worry about them. That's how you showed your love, right? I worry about my family and my friends. And for me, that was normal. But what we're learning is that when we're in that worry, and of course, we're all going to have normal levels of worry, absolutely. But when we're constantly in worry, we're going to have trouble actually being able to calm ourselves down and be in that state where we can, help ourselves and help others. So the good news is the things we worry about tends to be a much bigger circle than the things that can happen, which is a smaller circle. And then that tiny purple dot right there, those are the things that do happen. So, so we can start to worry a little bit less, and we'll talk about that more. So quick note on emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence has become a big catchword in the past couple of years, but it is really important because emotional intelligence has now become the single biggest predictor of performance in the workplace and the strongest driver of leadership and personal excellence. So EI is twice as important as IQ or technical skills, and 90% of top performers have emotional intelligence. Gone are the days when we are, when you have that boss who, maybe there still is that case in some places, but, companies that are on the leading edge, they're not looking for people that are going to freak out every time something goes wrong. They want people that are calm, cool, collected, emotionally intelligent, ready to navigate the challenges that life brings us, not tripping over every rock in the river. And so, so this method is emotionally intelligent, and that's just yet another way you can gain. So you might be wondering, what exactly is emotional intelligence? It is a nice, catchy word, but what does it mean? Emotional intelligence is all about gaining mastery over our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. And how do we do that? So like that little slide right there. Thoughts create feelings, feelings create behavior, behavior reinforces thoughts. So how do we do that? We do that by becoming more conscious. We become more aware of ourselves. We start to notice how we feel and how we react to situations. Because the truth of the matter is, if you have a trigger, you leave yourself open to be kind of manipulated. If people know where your triggers are and you don't know where they are, they can get a reaction out of you. And we all do it. We're all kind of walking reactors, right? We've sort of been trained into that. And so now we have the opportunity to become a little more conscious and start to really know ourselves better, and in that way become more emotionally intelligent. Donna, do you want to speak onto this slide?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So, welcome. Hi, everybody. I'm Donna. Happy to be here. So, the term spotting is used in two ways. So, we want to spot means to put a highlight on a feeling, sensation, or thought or impulse that was previously unseen. So this is that unconscious reaction we have to stress or stressors in our life. So I always like to say it's that old movie where they would have the old mystery movies, and they would have the assailant with the cops, and they have a big spotlight on them, in that dark room. So this is what you're doing. A situation is happening. You're taking a pause between stimulus and response, and you're going to put a spotlight on it, and you're going to check in and see what's going on with you. It helps us to consciously see what is triggering us, what's causing our stress and our anxiety. This is something, again, it's so reactive. Something happens, we react, we fire back a word, an email, or even an action, right? We're going to have a chance now to pause and really put that spot on us.
Absolutely. And so, and Donna speaks well to this slide as well. So what we can start to do is make peace of mind our primary goal. And yeah, you can take this one too, Donna.
Sure.
No realities, you got this.
So now we did the spot, right? We spotted the situation. Now we're going to use the spot or spotting or phrase. So it's the concept. Our peace of mind is our primary goal. And I always say, take a deep breath, sit back, feel the chair you're sitting in, feel your body, and now remind yourself, your peace of mind is your primary goal, not everything outside of you, not work, not family, not friends, not situations in the world, your peace of mind. It's like when you go on that airplane and they tell you that they show you to drop the air mask. What's the first thing they say? Your air mask first, and then everybody else is after that. You can't help anybody if you're not getting your oxygen first. It's the same thing. We're talking mental oxygen here, right? So our peace of mind is our primary goal. If I'm not grounded, if I don't have my peace of mind, how am I going to be a help, not only to myself, but to others? If we want to reduce our stress and anxiety, we need to make our peace of mind our primary goal. we have edged this out of ourselves, putting everything in first in front of us, right? We have to make sure, you know, every dot is, you know, every I's dotted, every T's crossed. Yes, of course, but we need to stop and make sure we're putting ourselves first, that we have our ground. Because when we have our ground, we make better decisions, right, Brittany?
Absolutely. And we'll talk about that when we get to calm brings calm. So you want to, yeah, you want to touch on the trivialities and then I'll take back there.
So
Thanks.
if Brittany, if we're doing our usual thing, she's told you about how we imagine stresses feel like danger to us, right? That saber-toothed tiger, you know, or, you know, being held at gunpoint there, that's danger. Here, what we want to talk about is trivialities, because what really gets us worked up the most is trivialities. Life consists of trivialities, and very little else. We're not really in those danger days. So if you think about what you worry about, traffic, email, response to an email, somebody bumped into you at the grocery store. These are all those triggers that get us worked up. I like to look at trivialities like snowflakes. There's not, you know, there's all different snowflakes. No two are the same, right? And they start to fall one after another. So this is how your life goes. Say you get up in the morning and you're late. Now you're late for work. Now you're getting worked up. Now the kids won't get on the bus, or, you know, there's traffic. Now you have to hurry up and get to a meeting or get, you know, to an appointment. And, you know, the computer Zoom won't start or you're having technical difficulties. Those snowflakes are now forming this snowball, right? You're carrying with this all day because you're not seeing the body's reaction to all this stress. Now your whole day is gone. There's been a whole bunch of other snowflakes that have gathered here. You get home, you sit down, maybe on the couch at the dinner table, and maybe your partner, your husband says, oh, the chicken's a little dry tonight. What happens? That snowball just turned into an avalanche, and now you've lost your temper, right? So trivialities crowd out life, and any one of them, no matter what it is, cause anger, fear, or disappointment. We need to start nipping all of these in the bud one by one. So we don't go home at the end of the day with that big avalanche of snowflakes that is telling our body we're in danger, right? And all those nervous systems are acting up. So life consists of trivialities and very little else.
And so
again,
yeah, good.
So trivialities cause the most symptoms. This is another spot. So when something happens, I can give you one today. I went to Starbucks and everybody was moving really slow and I was getting impatient and I was, you know, I could feel my temper rising. It's a triviality. I'm not in danger, but it's giving me symptoms like I am. So the majority of situations in our lives, thankfully, are trivialities, but we often react as emergencies. Here's the key here. The body is registering emergency. Now we're putting our peace of mind at risk. We need to ask ourselves, in the scheme of things, how important is it really for me to turn that dimmer switch up, work it up, right? Or can I say, hey, this is just a triviality. Now I'm going to turn that dimmer switch down.
Absolutely. Thank you, Donna. Yeah, and just so you know, Donna Sand is not only a yoga teacher, she teaches people how to be yoga teachers. She's also a meditation coach. She is well endowed. And if we have a chance, she'll share a little bit about her story with stress and anxiety. It's a really great one. But basically, if we want to start living a more peaceful life, we have to start to recognize the signs and symptoms of temper. So in Spot-It terms, there are two types of temper. There's angry temper and fearful temper. Angry temper is any temper that is turned outward towards another. We're blaming someone else for our feelings. We're judging that person as wrong. We've been wrong, or an expectation we've had has not been met. So if you're feeling resentment, impatience, disgust, or hatred, you can be pretty sure you're experiencing angry temper. And then we have fearful temper. Fearful temper is anytime we're judging ourselves as wrong. We're afraid that something's happening to us, that we did something bad. This happens to me all the time. I say something in a conversation. I feel like I said the wrong thing. And then I'm thinking, oh, I shouldn't have said that, or did I say too much, or whatever it is. So anytime we're feeling worry, shame, embarrassment, or inadequacy, you can be pretty sure you're experiencing fearful temper. And we can spot these too as we go along. So now we're going to go over the 4-step method. I briefly introduced it to you in the beginning. We had Jamie give an example. So now we're going to go into it a little bit. But before we do, I just want to mention this. So just so you know, this method is not about being a doormat, an angel, or a superhero. It's all about helping you get your mind to a better, more peaceful, more secure place so you can respond to the challenges of life instead of reacting to them. We're all walking reactors. I mean, I can at least speak for myself. I can definitely be a walking reactor. And just so you know, the outer world is not here to bring you peace. Unfortunately, I wish it was, but it is not. And so that's something we must develop. And as Donna says, we have to do this by playing a new game. And this game is choosing secure thoughts over insecure thoughts. And so I made this drawing on the right. That's how I hope to be, floating on my magic carpet in alignment. There's all those lowered emotions there in that little hurricane, easy to get sucked in, but we, through Spot-It, we experience our emotions and then hopefully move through them. So the first step of this method is briefly and calmly describing the situation. This is where we already start to work ourselves down. So we talked about that dimmer switch. So we're going to start to work ourselves down in step one. And we're going to do this by selecting one situation. Sometimes we have a lot going on. We narrow it down to one. We briefly explain the situation. We don't include all the adjectives. So-and-so did this, that, and the other thing. I have a, searing headache. Our body hears what our mind says. So we calmly tell the story, and through that, we already start to work ourselves down. And through naming the situation, we start to become self-reflective right away. And if we are self-reflective, we can't be in the drama of the situation. So that act in itself begins to work us down, already starting to get us to peace. Then we have step two. So this is the part where we name our physical sensations that we're feeling in our body and our thoughts. So there's lots of different thoughts that we all have, probably similar and different at the same time. So here on the screen, you can see some thoughts. I'm not good enough. That's a common one for me. I'm angry. I don't have enough. Can't stop thinking about something, some repetitive thoughts that come back. Why hasn't someone gotten back to me? They don't like me, whatever that is. And then we also have physical sensations. So everyone experiences stress and anxiety differently. Sometimes it's a racing heart, low energy, palpitations. I know for me, a lot of times when I'm really stressed, my shoulders will just start to creep up closer to my ears. And that's how I know, all right, something's going on. I probably should spot it or do something because I'm stressed and I can feel it in my body. And we like to give a little disclaimer here. The Spot-It method is not a claim to cure. It's not a replacement for proper medical evaluation or treatment of new or worsening symptoms. It is also not a replacement for medication or therapy. So if you're experiencing anything like that, please call 911 or see your primary doctor. But what it is for is when you've had palpitations, you've gone to your doctor, you've had them examined, they're normal, they're just from stress and anxiety. This is when you can really use this method. And a lot of people know what their symptoms are that cause them stress and anxiety. So we're going to start to become more aware of ourselves. And in some ways, this method might help you to discover things that are going on. But just so you know, so everyone's clear, we're not saying that this will take away any kind of cardiac issue, because if that's what's going on, you definitely need to have that evaluated by your physician. So we want to know, what are some of your physical sensations that you experience in your body, and what are some of your thoughts? So type those into the chat. Donna, why don't you share a little bit about, some of your physical sensations or your journey with stress and anxiety and go into the ER and all of that.
So I'll give just a very brief recap here. I mom of 5, big blended family. I was a working mother. I was a hairstylist for so many years. I've been teaching yoga and meditation for 20 years. And after a very serious situation with one of our children, I began everything turned out, well, she's healthy now, but I started to feel anxiety and panic attacks, and it just got so debilitating. I couldn't work. I couldn't take care of my family. I was in a black hole from this. And you can imagine my surprise after, being a yoga teacher, and I teach people how to calm down and relax. I couldn't. And I did so many things to not do that, I was, like I said, yoga, meditation, very healthy lifestyle. I almost didn't believe in anxiety. So not only did I have the anxiety and panic attacks, but then I got physically ill. So the symptoms got really strong, and I tried a lot of different modalities. And, like Brittany said, they were all little working parts, but this program is really what got me back to what I like to call my mental fitness and back into functioning. And one of my symptoms, I was in the ER for 7 times in 1 year. And we kept checking me out. Everything was fine. And so my symptoms were always racing heart, tightness in my chest. And like I always say, I think I keep my GI doctor of this. So I get that nervous stomach distress.
Yeah, I feel you. I get that too. When I'm really stressed, I won't eat, but that's only happened to me a couple of times. Elsie says beating heart, dry mouth, anxiety, fear, totally. Joan says tension in her shoulders, upset stomach, loss of appetite. Jean says tight shoulders like rocks. I feel you, Jean.
Yes.
Jeannie from Arizona says clenching my teeth, mind and body start moving faster and faster. Yeah, absolutely. That restlessness, I get that too. So thank you for sharing, everyone. And so just so a little bit, why does naming our symptoms work? Oh, Patty Ann says no appetite and sleeplessness. Ugh, insomnia, it's the worst. So why does naming our symptoms work? Well, when we start to name our symptoms, we actually can begin to tame them. So a lot of times when a symptom comes up, we become in resistance to it. And so we don't want to see it. We kind of shove it down, we hide it. But once we become alert to our symptoms, we start to become conscious about them. We can actually become objective observers of our symptoms. And so they begin to lose that fear-inducing grip they have on us. A lot of times the things we don't want to face, it's actually in hiding them away from ourselves that fear really develops. So when we label our symptoms, we actually can create some distance from them. We don't have to be our anger or upset, any of those things. We can actually just see it. And so it's really powerful when we name our symptoms, become aware. I know for me, sometimes my heart's racing. I spot it, I name that racing heart, and I can feel my heart turning down. So it's really great. So moving into the third step of the method, this is the spot. So this is obviously the goal. This is one of my favorite steps. And so the spots are the phrases and the goal of this 4-step method. They're the phrases that help us to replace our insecure, fearful thoughts with more secure and balanced thoughts. So take however many numbers of years you've been alive, and remember, you have been thinking this way for that many years. So give yourself some time to think in a more secure way. It does take time and some repetition, but it absolutely will help. And even in the moment, it'll help. But over time, you'll start to find these spots will pop up. So you'll have all those insecure thoughts that you're used to thinking. And then you'll think one of my favorite spots, which Donna is going to explain in just a second, calm brings calm. So Donna.
So this is another spot, calm brings calm. And this works on so many levels. And I have to be honest, my transparency here as a yoga teacher, when I was going through my anxiety and panic, I just kept I would say, be calm. Well, if I could be calm, I would, right? Like, come on. But I wasn't embodying it. And that was like the illusion that I had going on in my mind. And here I thought I was this calm person, but I wasn't checking in on the inside. So calm brings calm means when I'm starting to feel anxiety or stress, to turn that dimmer switch up. Let's say maybe you're sitting at your desk, right? And an email comes through and you don't like the tone. What happens? Maybe you're tapping your leg. Maybe you're bouncing your pen against the table or clicking your pen. I know when I'm cooking at night and if I'm getting stressed trying to get everything done with the kids and my husband, I'll start chopping and my arms will start waving and I got a knife in my hand. And my husband's like, can you put the knife down, please? This is an indicator when I have to go, calm brings calm. And I have to really feel it, because when we feel our symptoms come on, the more tense we become, the more intense the symptoms are going to be. But when we stay calm, and that means slowing my words, slowing my movements, right? Slowing my breath. We redirect our body, mind to be calm. And then the symptoms start to calm down. Take a moment and think. If you've been stressed or aggravated or feeling an anxiety symptom, when has getting worked up ever made you feel better or has helped any of that? It doesn't. But this is kind of a hard spot because you really not only have to say it, you have to embody it. So it's like, take that deep breath. I'm agitated. Calm brings calm. I'm nervous about, today during a webinar, my internet went out, Brittany and I, calm brings calm. I had to just break it down and be calm to get to fix the problem.
Absolutely. Thank you. I love how you explain that spot, Donna. You do such a good job with that. So another great spot we have is it's distressing but not dangerous. So we touched a little bit earlier about how we're in our sympathetic response so often. We're in that fight or flight mode, and we're attaching danger to all these situations that, while uncomfortable, are actually not dangerous. So we work ourselves up by associating danger to these situations, but we can use the spot, it's distressing but not dangerous, to start helping work ourselves down. I do this all the time. When I'm feeling that anxiety coming on, I feel like something bad might happen. My imagination is on fire, which is another great spot. It's distressing, but not dangerous. And then we have this spot, a thought started it, a thought can end it. So, Dr. Lowe always says that we are not responsible for our initial flare up, right? Our initial reaction. And know that this method is not about you, not acknowledging your emotions or anything like that. It's absolutely about acknowledging your emotions. And we don't always go right to the spots, right? We sometimes have that workup. We have that thought that comes into our mind. I had a thought come into my mind today. I got upset. It was annoying, but I remember the spot. A thought started it, a thought can end it. I can choose a new thought to replace that thought. And, if you choose the more secure thought, you'll probably start to feel better. Many of us have this worrying habit. We think that if we worry, it'll protect us, but it's a habit and we can change this habit. We can replace those negative thoughts with positive ones. Of course, we're going to have normal amounts of worrying, but we can start to calm ourselves down. A thought started it, a thought can end it. So why selecting the spots works? Basically, a lot of our reactions in life are unconscious and automatic. We've been taught these since we were a little kid. We watched our moms do it. And so we basically have all these automatic reactions. We've never really thought about or become super conscious about them. But using the step 3 of the Spot-It method, we can replace those fearful thoughts with more realistic and balanced thoughts. And after a while, we will start to feel better. And with practice, these thoughts, they become your default setting, and they'll help you to feel better even faster. It does take time. Breaking a habit takes a lot of time. Creating a bad one doesn't take a lot of time. So a little bit about why selecting the spots works. So this is another one of my favorites. This really applies to me. Approval is a want, not a need. So this is for the people pleasers in the room. I'm one of those people. I love when everyone around me feels good and everything's going great. If people need some help or whatever it is, I love saying yes. But what I've learned over time is that a yes to other people is also a no to me. And if that's not in alignment, I'm sort of burning myself out. And the truth be told, if I'm saying yes, a lot of times the reason behind that, and I wasn't always completely aware of that, was that I was seeking the approval of others. And so we know now is seeking the approval of others. It's not only unreliable, but it's ever fickle. And when we don't get it, that causes us stress and anxiety. So what we learned through the Spot-It method, and this comes in with the next step of self-endorsement, is we have to start to build our inner security, our peace of mind, our own foundation. So no matter what's happening in our outer environment, we approve of ourselves and we feel good, whether or not we get compliments, whether or not people like us, because at the end of the day, it's more important that we approve of ourselves. The Spot-It method is all about us approving of ourselves. And so we can create more inner security and then overall more peace of mind. All right, Donna, take it away with this one.
All right. So again, another disclaimer. By no means is this giving everybody in the world a pass. No, this is about not falling into the reactive mode, right? Not saying you can't say something to somebody if they've wronged you, but we want to do it from a place of groundedness. So excuse yourself and others. Don't accuse for the sake of your peace of mind. There's another spot we like to use. Do I want to be right or do I want to be well, right? So as humans, we automatically judge ourselves and others. Something goes wrong, I'm looking to see who's the culprit, right? So I'm wrong, I just start judging myself. How could you have done that? That's just the dumbest thing in the world, But what happens when we're judging? Even if it's rightful, even if it's justified, if I'm judging somebody or myself, all I'm doing is creating tension and tenseness in my body. That's going to lead me to symptoms. If we don't get those symptoms down, now we've got ourselves into a panic. Dr. Lowe called this the vicious cycle. So for the sake of our peace of mind, we can stop the tension-inducing dominoes from falling simply by giving yourself and others a break. When has pointing the finger at anybody ever made a situation better? I'm going to use this again. When has beating yourself up over something ever made the situation better? It hasn't. So excuse yourself and others. Don't accuse for the sake of your peace of mind.
Absolutely. This is one of my absolute favorites and really encompasses a lot of the learning I've done on my path.
And it goes to, I said that Buddhist quote, Brittany, you know,
Yes.
holding to anger is like holding onto a hot coal. You're the only one that gets burnt. When we're not accusing ourselves and others, we're burning ourselves up.
Absolutely. So you got introduced to a couple of spots. Thank you so much for hanging in. We're almost at the end of this webinar, but we want to know, what is your favorite spot? So it might have been some of the ones we've already showcased. And then we here have, this is the short list of spots. This is 40 spots. So you can just type in the chat. You can just put the number of the spot that you, that is your favorite in the chat. And you can read this list here. We want to know what your favorites are. I have a couple favorites. One of my all-time favorites is anticipate, enjoy, or not at all. I got invited to a concert the other day. I have no idea, but this sneaky thought, like Donna always says, and Dr. Lowe always says, it's like a thief in the night. It came into my mind, like, what if there's a bombing at that concert? And it's like, where did that come from? But it totally got me a little bit worked up. I'm like, I don't know if I want to go to that concert. I don't know where that thought came from. So I remember in that situation, anticipate, enjoy, or not at all. I'm not going to think about all the potential worst outcomes. My dad did that. It was something I'm sort of trained to do. So I'm currently in the process of training myself out. So just type that number in the chat. And Donna, what's your favorite one?
I'm going to think today, I'm going to my favorite one because they switch daily.
Right.
But I'm going to spot temper is a luxury I cannot afford, even if it's justified. But I just realized that's not on this list. So let me go with
That's okay.
I'm going to go plan, decide, and act. Right. Because today we had that big hiccup with my computer and I did not have time for temper. I just had to plan what I was going to do, decide what I was going to do and then act on it to get back on.
Absolutely. So we have Megan says 25. It's distressing, but not dangerous. Mm-hmm. John says 1, a thought started it, a thought can end it. Jasmine 20, have the courage to make a mistake. I love that one too. Jean White 9, comparisons are pointless, and 12, don't give your peace of mind away to it. That's a classic. Spot it. 30 and 36. So we have people do things that annoy us, not to annoy us. That's helped me a lot, especially at work. 36, the body, mind, and soul is a self-healing organism. Another one I highly resonate with. Jenny says 37, to analyze is to paralyze. Yes, that's a wonderful one. 38 from Joan, trivialities cause the most symptoms. Yes, they do. I used to work myself up. I still do. Joan actually saw me worked up today, right, Joan? Jeannie from Arizona says 30, people do things that annoy us, not to annoy us. Michelle 22, humor is our best friend. Another great one. 31, plan, decide, and act. Brielle, drop the judgment on ourselves and others and lower your expectations for other people's behaviors. And Greg, 36, the mind, body, and soul is a self-healing organism. So great. Thank you all so much for naming your favorite spots. So I think we're going to skip this one, but I was going to have you guys select a spot. We'll do it really quick. So just quickly, rapid fire. So we're going to give you this situation. I thought this was pretty timely for what's going on right now. The price of gas and groceries is high and I'm feeling stressed about money. So just type in the number in the chat, what spots you would use for this situation.
Yeah, I just got gas this afternoon. What?
Did it work you up?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
All right, let's see. Patty Ann says 7. And Patty, you're in California, right? So it's probably worse there. 7 is calm brings calm. Yes, absolutely. Jean from Arizona 1, a thought started it, a thought can end it. Yes. Carissa, to analyze is to paralyze. Yes, definitely. We can analyze all the situations of the world and we will definitely paralyze ourselves. LC 40, we make our greatest gains practicing in discomfort. That's right. Greg 39, we are keen observers and poor interpreters. Oh, sorry, Patty Ann. I thought you were in California. My Aunt Donna's in California. Thank you. And John 25, it's distressing, but not dangerous. Yes. And yeah, thank you. Oh, Meg says 31, plan, decide, and act. And John says 22, humor is our best friend. That's right. You got to laugh because what else can we do? We use that that was a natural coping mechanism in the ER. And now it's become so great. So, all right. Good job, everyone. You already get it. It's super easy. And just so you know, these are just 40 of probably 400 spots. You don't need 400 spots. You only need 1 or 2 to use this method, but there's a lot out there. There's some really great ones, but these are 40 that we thought were the best and really applicable in everyday life. So basically, repetition is key with the Spot-It method. You don't learn the Spot-It method, you live it. It's just like anything else. You know, when you want to change your body, you go to the gym, you do repetitions, you get biceps or abs. If you want to change the way you think, you have to replace your old thoughts with new thoughts. So learning the spots retrains your brain, and it helps you to pick those secure thoughts. And if you do this regularly, it will make a world of a difference. All right, so the second part of step 3 is self-endorsement. So this is where we build our inner security. So self-endorsement is when we give ourselves a pat on the back. When we're not endorsing, we're indicting. So if we're not taking time to endorse ourselves for all the things we do every day, because even if you do what you think is the minimal, you're still doing a lot each day. We have to learn to approve and support ourselves. And as a Spot-It coach, this is the hardest step for all of my clients, is to do this self-endorsement step. So Donna, you want to take this slide?
Sure. So one inner endorsement is worth 1,000 outer endorsements. So this kind of ties in with that whole approval thing, right? You know, we can get off this webinar and I can say to Brittany, great job. You knocked it out of the park. But if she doesn't believe it, it doesn't matter. Or maybe she believes it for like an hour, 2 hours, but she has to approve of herself. So again, we're looking for that outside approval. The only approval we need is our own. And that endorsement is so important, because that's how, when stress and anxiety start to decrease our self-confidence, we need to build it back. So that one inner endorsement saying, I approve of me, I'm okay, is worth 1,000 outer endorsements, because those outer endorsements don't matter if I don't believe it myself. So again, one inner endorsement is worth 1,000 outer endorsements. I approve of me.
Absolutely. And this might, oh, go ahead, Donna, sorry.
And then we start to build back confidence. You know, when we endorse, we have to look at all those things we do during the day and not focus on the few things that didn't go well, but look on everything that did. Absolutely.
And just one thing, Donna really brought this to my mind. She really spotted this for me when my dad passed and like things, just everything seemed to be going wrong. I didn't even realize it. I lost my confidence. I completely lost it. I didn't really trust myself anymore. I didn't have faith. And it was really hard. And through the Spot-It method and my other, you know, spiritual practices, I really learned that it's so important to build this inner security, because the outer world can be rude, crude, and indifferent. And we can easily get run over by it. But if we have our inner security, if we have our self-confidence, and if we're starting to work on it, you'll see how easy it is to shrug off whatever comes your way with time. So self-endorsement, this is the antidote for insecurity. Something that, I mean, maybe I'm alone in facing this, but probably not. Something we're all facing, right? So when we're secure internally, we relax. And when we relax, we don't experience the symptoms of anxiety. So when we know the connection between feeling secure and symptoms, our strategy becomes really simple. How do we increase our sense of security and decrease our sense of insecurity? We do this by self-endorsement. So just know that when you endorse yourself in the Spot-It method, you can endorse for anything. Literally getting out of bed in the morning. You don't have to get out of bed in the morning. I know you all have jobs and stuff like that, but you don't have to do that. So you got out of bed, you brushed your teeth, you did a chore, you washed a dish, you made yourself breakfast, you sent that email, you got your kids to school, whatever it is, you endorse for that. And then Don always says this too. You don't have to endorse for things you did do. You can endorse for something you didn't do. Someone made a comment toward you and you didn't react. Endorse yourself. You know, anytime you do anything, we have to endorse ourselves, because it's not up to others to do it for us. Even though that's kind of what I was taught. I always was waiting for outer approval. We have to start approving of ourselves. And honestly, in the long term, it really makes life a lot better. You can always too endorse for using the Spot-It method or using a spot. All right, so step 4, how success works. So basically in this step, we just look at ourselves before the Spot-It method and ourselves after the Spot-It method. So for me, my big success every time is I used to spend a lot of time in resentment and guilt and hatred. I expected people to do the things I did. I had a lot of ideas about how things should be, and they weren't like that. And I would hold on to that stuff. But after learning the Spot-It method, I realized that stuff is not serving me. And what I got back was time, mental space and time I was dedicating to thinking negative thoughts. Now I can dedicate to my creativity, to my surfing, to my work life, to becoming a better person. And so that's been my big success, but that's basically step 4, how success works. And also why this step works is because as we mark our progress, we have to celebrate our achievements. We have to mark our progress. The world is moving so fast nowadays. If we don't stop to acknowledge our success, no one's going to do it for us. So if we learn to spot and drop a situation instead of processing it over and over again in our minds, which I know I did for so long and still do sometimes, that is a big deal and it needs to be acknowledged. When we celebrate our success, we want more of it and we become more committed to using this method. All right, so just so you know, the resources that are included in this webinar, I'm going to post the links in the chat one more time before you all log off. Part of your resource is I'm including is this Spot-It webinar card. It's the quick, not the quick, sorry. I'm really used to the other webinar. This is the Spot-It.
It's the reference card.
What?
It's the quick reference
Thank you.
card.
It's the quick reference card. This is the quick reference card. It has the 4-step method on it on the one side, and then it has a short list of spots on the other. I keep this pinned in my planner because planning tends to bring me a lot of anxiety. So I have it there. You can print out as many of these as you want, keep them in your house or whatever. And also, as a thanks for you all coming to this webinar, if you do have a situation that's working you up, you can feel free to call me to spot a situation or just shoot me a text and say, hey, do you have 5 minutes to spot a situation? If any of you don't have my number, just let me know. I'll give it to you in the chat. All right. And so if you like the Spot-It method, where can you learn more? Just so you know, I've had no expectations for this webinar. I just wanted the opportunity to share with you all this awesome method that I've learned. You can literally do this method with the quick reference card, with yourself, with a peer, or with a coach. So you don't need me. You can absolutely do this on your own. There's a lot more concepts and a lot more really great information. I tried to cram into this webinar as much as I could because I absolutely love these concepts and they resonate so deeply for me. So there's a Spot-It course. There's a workbook on Amazon. You can do individual or group Spot-It coaching. And if you think you know an organization that could benefit from this method, they're looking for some sort of mental wellness or mental fitness for their employees. We're doing this at an insurance company in Philly right now. They're absolutely loving it. And so if you think your organization could benefit, feel free to reach out. And if you really like this information, you want to learn a lot and you want to become a coach, there's a training coming up in the fall as hosted by DillonMarcus. So those are just some options. Just reach out to me. I'll be happy to share with you any information, insight, and talk to you more about anything that you want to learn about this concept. And then if you want to find me, you can find me on a couple places. I have a Mighty Networks group. This is basically like a Facebook private group, but it's just not on social media. It's what I was inspired to do. So I included that in the links as well. You can join that Mighty Networks group. I'll post about Spot-It and all the other things I do. I also teach people about medical medium protocols, as well as do healing touch sessions. So those are some of my other offerings. And then you can just email me at brittany@surfingwavesoflight.com or check out my website at www.surfingwavesoflight.com. So those are how you can get in touch with me, unless you know me, which I feel like most of you do. So you can just call me. And so, yeah, so I think we're over 7 o'clock. Oh, 8 o'clock, sorry. It's 8:05. So thank you so much. If anybody has any questions or comments or anything, I'm definitely going to be hanging on. I really appreciate everyone taking the time out of their busy evening to come to this webinar today. Oh, hey, Megan. What's up, Mr. Curtin? I hope you enjoyed this webinar and that you feel a little bit more at peace. Oh my God, Megan, John, and Megan, John, literally, and Kelsey. You guys, there's Megan Curtin and John Curtin and John and Meg. Oh my God, so funny. So thank you all so much for coming. This is an official close. Please feel free if you have any questions to hang out. And yeah, love you all so much.
Thank you, everybody. Nice to see you all. Have a great night.
Thank you so much.